Welcome back to the Legal Smith Unleashed. I'm attorney Kurt Smith here with my legal Shawty, Dylan Smith.
Legal Shawty.
What up, Shawty?
What up, Shawty? You are my legal Shawty, actually.
No,
Yes.
you are the legal Shawty.
I'll take it.
We're here today talking about evidence. Okay,
Evidence.
That's the crucial thing. How do you win a case? You've got to have evidence. Okay, and what a lot of people don't understand about going into court is what is the best evidence.
That's a good question. I'd say it is the evidence that proves your case to be proves your case.
Proves your case. That helps you win.
Yes.
That's the best evidence. Now, there's a couple different best evidences that sometimes we talk about. Sometimes we talk about the best evidence rule. Are you familiar with the best evidence rule?
Enlighten me.
The best evidence rule is a rule that says, for example, if I were to say, I've got this document here. What does this document mean? And you'd look at the document and start reading it, but your English isn't very good. And you start mumbling over things and you getting the words wrong. I could throw out an objection. Objection, Your Honor. The best evidence is the document itself. We'll just submit the document, and that'll be what the court looks at, not my client's bumbling testimony over the words that are too big for him to read.
Sure,
Okay?
makes sense.
So the best evidence rule. And the best evidence is also the original document, right? Not
Right.
a copy, not a mimeograph.
Screenshot.
Screenshot? Okay, but the original, that's the best one. So, but people get confused, and, everything we do is either argument or evidence, okay?
Sure.
And our goal sometimes is to have the judge confuse the argument, which is brilliant and great, with the evidence, which may or may not support what we're trying to do, right?
Right.
So if we're dealing with a divorce, we've got issues with regard to children and property and debts, attorney fees. We've got to go through all those kind of things. If I want to show who owns the house, what's the best evidence for the judge?
The deed would help.
The deed. There we go. And the deed's going to show who owns the house. How is it owned? Is it owned as joint tenants or tenants in common? Is it owned in some kind of percentage? How is the house owned? And the deed will show all that. Now, I can certainly go up and tell the judge that, but if I show the judge the deed, that would be very helpful. I've got a 2024 Ferrari.
Okay.
All right.
That's pretty sweet.
I know. How much is it worth?
Ooh. Probably have to look at the Kelly Blue Book.
Maybe a Kelly Blue Book, right? And so we go, a 2024 Ferrari is worth $150,000, right? And so you're like, well, I want my $75,000. And then I would come up and go, yes, Your Honor, but I owe $149,000. So there's only $1,000 in equity, even though it's a really expensive car.
Right.
So, but I can't just tell the judge that. I have to show the judge that. And so people get confused a lot of times because there are certain things that it's very helpful to have evidence for. Sometimes people think they need evidence for everything. And while evidence is helpful, the best evidence at trial is always going to be testimony, okay? And so
now, is that for just family law cases like a divorce or a custody case, or is that also across the board?
it's across the board, because when we have a trial, okay, you never see the judge go, okay, counselor, it's your turn. Put your first document on the stand. No, we don't do that, right? You don't put a document on the stand. Somebody's getting up to tell about the document if we need it, right?
Right.
So what's the story? Well, I was walking down the street by 7-Eleven, and this guy came out and started shooting, and it looks like it's him, right?
Right.
That's my testimony. Now, there's certain evidence that can help prove that case, right? So if you were to say, well, it couldn't have been me because I was in the Philippines at that point. Oh, well, yeah, right. And what were you doing in the Philippines? Well, doesn't matter what I was doing. Here's my ticket. Here's where I flew out. Here I flew in the day after you said all this went down. So it couldn't have been me. It had to have been somebody as unlikely as it is, somebody exactly as handsome as you.
Now that's going to be hard to pull off.
And that looked like you, but it wasn't you, right? So that's how we use the evidence to support the case. We do a lot of family law, so we're not dealing with the murderers that are, coming out at 2 a.m. We're trying to identify those people along a lineup of 7 other thugs that they found out on the street that day, 6 of them cops, right? We're dealing with the kids and the stuff. How do we divide all that stuff? And usually the biggest fight is about the kids. So a typical argument would be, if I'm the dad, let's just pretend I'm the dad, the male, and you're the mom, the female, because that's really,
I don't know if this experiment's going to work out.
A little more effeminate, right? So, and so I say, look, we've got this, we've been married 20 years, and we've got these 3 kids, and the kids really have an affinity towards me. And they don't like their mom because their mom is abusive, and their mom's a drunk, and their mom shoots up heroin every day. And she's just been abusing these kids to all get out. And so, Judge, I need to have sole custody of the kids. And we get that, we elicit that testimony on the stand. And invariably, mom will come back and go, what? I'm not this abusive monster like you say. The kids love me. In fact, I'll prove it to you. And out come the photos, right?
Right.
Now, there's photos that are helpful and there's photos that aren't so helpful, right? If I've got 7,000 photos of me and the children from the time they were a little baby at every major holiday and every major event going up through today, over these past 20 years, right? I've got all these pictures, and everybody's happy, and we're together, and we're bonding, and everything's great, and I look okay, right? My hair's done. I don't look like I'm drugged out, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to be very helpful. If you come in and you say, Judge, I've got a great relationship with the kids. Look at these photos. And it's yesterday at Chuck E. Cheese with the kids with messy faces, and there's 80 pictures all at Chuck E. Cheese, and you take the picture, and there's the dad, with the kid right there. Oh, here we are, say cheese, right? And the kid's like, okay, that's not going to be as helpful, right? It's the sheer volume over the years that is actually more helpful in those types of situations. But even a lot of times the judges are like, look, anybody can tell a kid to smile for the camera. That's not what we're looking at. What else do you have? Because an abused child doesn't eat, right? Yeah. So they're going to be maybe emaciated. An abused child is going to have bruises. An abused child is going to have perhaps some emotional problems. An abused child probably isn't going to be doing very well in school. So if you've got the valedictorian kid who's always dressed in his Alex Keaton sweater and going to class and
where did he get Michael Keaton's sweater? I don't understand. Sorry, go on.
Alex Keaton, not Michael Keaton. No Family Ties. What's going on here?
Michael Keaton. I like Batman a lot better than whatever the hell Family Ties is.
Stuart Little. Nothing.
Great film.
Okay,
but
that was Alex Keaton. That was.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway. So, if you've got that kid, is your kid this horribly deficient child, or are they the football quarterback or captain of the cheerleading team and getting straight A's? It doesn't make sense, right? So that's the kind of evidence we might want to show with regard to children. The photos are going to be helpful, but what about the report cards, right?
Yeah.
What about, if what you're telling me is true about the abuse, wouldn't there be maybe some counseling to help the child through all that? Have there been cutting episodes, over the years? Has there been anything to do with anorexia or bulimia? Has there been, children, self-harming in some way, or running away, for example, or getting into drugs? Those kind of things are extremely telling in a child custody case. And so, realistically, when we go in and we as the attorney, we're putting our client on the stand, we're asking the client these questions to elicit this testimony. Tell me about the relationship. Tell me about the breakdown. Tell me about how things went. I had a case one time where mom wanted to terminate dad's parental rights. And the allegation was that dad was this abusive monster. And so I'm sitting there with my client, and she's up on the stand, and I say, listen, tell me about this abuse that went on. And she looks, and she's like, yeah, there was some abuse. Okay, yeah, but what happened? I mean, I know what happened. I've got the story right here. It's all right here, right?
Yeah.
But I can't
lead
tell her
the
what
witness.
to say, right? Can't lead the way, right? So was there an issue on or about Christmas? Oh, yes. What was it? There was some abuse. And I'm pulling teeth trying to get this girl to tell what happened, because what really happened is the parties got in an argument. Dad drags the lady into the room, throws her on the bed, chokes her out. She's looking at herself, turning purple and asphyxiating.
Oh, geez.
Child's in the crib sitting there watching dad choke mom out. And this was a regular occurrence.
Wow.
This happened multiple times. Dad, mom's going to get in the shower, and dad beats her over the head, and she wakes up hours later with the shower running ice cold. She'd been out for hours in the shower like that. Dad grabbed the girl by the hair and dragged her outside by the hair and threw her out in the off the porch, with the parents, his parents that were living with them in the house watching. Those are the kind of stories that really are going to move the judge. And for this girl, she's sitting there not wanting to relive it. But when she finally broke through and opened up and said, yeah, here's what happened, it was a very compelling argument. And yeah, dad's parental rights were terminated because he was that abusive. It was not a good situation to have his children around anymore. And so, I can tell that story, but what do you do if you've got just the girl on the stand who's saying, yeah, there was some abuse? That's not going to carry the day. But maybe if I can pull out the pictures of the bruises and the broken bones and the hair gouge really pulled out, and the eye blood vessels bursting, that's going to have the impact. And the judge goes, whoa, is this the abuse you're talking about? Yes, that's the abuse. Okay. Did you call the police? Yes, I did. What happened? Well, they came out and they arrested him. Is this the only time this happened? No, it happened multiple times, over and over and over and over and over again. That's the evidence that's going to help augment the story and solidify what we're doing here, okay? So, but people get confused, and so they want to, give evidence that they think is going to be helpful. So, look, here's a picture of the knife that Dad used, and you look at the picture, and there's a knife on a counter.
Okay.
How helpful is that?
I don't know. Is it a bloody knife? Is it a...
Nope, just a standard knife sitting there on the counter.
A full knife, or is it more of a spreader?
I do love a good spreader. I got to be honest. But no, we're talking whatever it is. Butter knife, full knife, steak knife, doesn't matter. If you've got a knife sitting on the counter, how is that helpful?
It's not.
Is that the knife? I can't tell. it just came out of the dishwasher, it looks like, with all these other clean dishes. I'm glad you have a knife. I don't even know if that's your house, right? Where's the police report that says we came over and there was this knife?
Right.
If there isn't that, you've got a real problem. We had another situation. Again, you almost never get the story where we get these abusive type situations. And one parent, and usually it's mom, it's not always mom, but usually it's mom, will be like, hey, I had this abuse happened. And then dad gets on the stand and goes, yep, that's what I did. Sure enough. Yep, I grabbed her by the hair, dragged her into the room, beat the hell out of her in front of the kid. That never happens, right? So you're always going to have that he said, she said. So how do you prove it? Well, we had a situation one time where there was an abusive father that was dealing with his child. And it was an interesting situation because Dad was living with his he's got a new girlfriend, a new wife, and he had mom had given Dad his visitation time, and the child called mom to come get her because Dad was standing in the living room, like one of the enslaved mind people from the Mummy, right? He's got his knife, Imhotep, and he's standing there. And the kid who's like 8 or 9 years old is watching Dad, going, "Dad, are you okay?" And this wasn't a normal situation because Dad was buck naked too, right?
Geez.
So he's standing in the living room buck naked with this knife, chanting Imhotep over and over, and the kid's like, what do I do? So he calls mom, who works about 15 minutes away, and says, and tries to get a hold of her. He can't get a hold of her. So he calls stepmom number 2 over here, and that mom races over and is able to see everything that went on. So we got a mom 1 and a mom 2 situation with the drugged out dad with the knife, who ended up like stabbing himself in the stomach like 6 times.
Jeez.
And his intestines are hanging out.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
And the kid sitting there watching all this runs into the closet, slams the door, and then the front door is locked. Mom can't get in, or stepmom 2, whoever it was, couldn't get in. And so as the mom now is coming saying, I need supervised visitation from this guy, I can't have him around anymore, the judge is saying, well, what did you see? And she's like, I didn't see anything, right? I heard from my child. Now that's the worst thing, right?
Yeah.
The child can't come in and testify because he's 8 years old. A judge isn't going to let him in. And all she has is this hearsay testimony. So I'm in this situation where we've got to restrict Dad's access to the child, because Dad's like, to mom off camera, he's saying, it's a one-time thing. Don't worry about that. I'll never do that again.
I only got naked and stabbed myself with a knife in the gut 30 times once.
It was only once. So, come on, everybody makes mistakes.
Guy has one breakdown, and all of a sudden he's the worst guy in the world. That's nice.
So we go, the judge is like, well, I can't accept your testimony. That's hearsay. What did you see? And she's like, I didn't see. What I saw was the aftermath. I saw the living room. I saw the blood trail. I saw this. I saw this. She goes, but you didn't see what happened. And she's like, no, I didn't. But guess what we've got? Mom 2 as the witness. And Mom 2 comes in, and she gives this just compelling testimony saying, yeah, here's what I saw, and here was Dad laying on the bed with the intestines hanging out, naked, chanting Imhotep, and there's a sandstorm, and there's a big face in the sand, and
was Dwayne Johnson there?
Dwayne Johnson did not show up this
Brendan
time.
Fraser.
Brendan Fraser showed up.
Okay,
yes,
good.
yes. So we've got this mom too coming in and really saving the day because she was able to see the scene. She heard the child's cries for help. She had to coax the kid out of the closet to come open the front door for her because she wasn't strong enough to kick it in.
Was Dad like bleeding out?
Oh yeah, Dad's bleeding out. Now Dad's, because Dad never is going to get up and go, yeah, that was me. I was the zombie guy. Dad's like, no, that you guys got it all wrong. Okay, what happened is I was cleaning the kitchen.
Oh. And
I had just done a load of dishes. And I opened the dishwasher, and some water must have gotten on the floor, so I slipped, and I fell on the bottom drawer where the silverware was, and there was a knife, and it accidentally stabbed me in the stomach.
Wow.
What a great story.
He's really unlucky.
That's an unlucky story. Now, nobody saw that part, okay? Nobody saw what happened to Dad. Except the kid who's not there, right? So now I've got Dad on the stand trying to disprove his story. And so I get Dad on the stand. I said, okay, that's a fascinating story. So what happened? Explain to me where the dishwasher is. He goes, well, there's this doorway here, and then there's the counter there, and then there's the sink, and then there's the stove, and then there's the dishwasher over here. Got it. Okay, got it. And so your testimony is you came into the kitchen, you slipped on the water, and you fell on the knife. Yep, that's exactly what happened. And then what happened? And then I kind of fell back. Okay, and how did you fall back? I just kind of fell on the floor. Got it. And that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Great. Now here's a picture that Mom took of the living room. You're over here in the kitchen in this whole other room. How did the blood get on the couch? Well, I must have stumbled. Okay, so what you did was you fell on the knife and then you stumbled backwards around the corner all the way into the living room and onto that other couch. That's exactly what happened. Okay. And then you took the pillows and threw them all over the room. Is that what happened? Must be. Okay. And where's the knife? Well, it's in the dishwasher. Well, how did that end up in your bedroom? There's no answer, right? But the testimony and what happened, that's the important part. The picture really tells nothing except it disproves Dad's story about the kitchen, right? Because it couldn't have happened that way.
Yeah.
This was better than JFK's magic bullet, if you've seen the Oliver Stone film, right? So Dad couldn't disprove any of it. In fact, every time he opened his mouth, it proved he was a bigger and bigger liar, right?
Right.
These are the kind of things we use this evidence for. But you've got to have the story to match, right? If I just show the judge a picture of a disheveled living room with couch pillows thrown, well, we could have had a pillow fight for all I know. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
But here, Dad's got his big lie, and then we got the police report and the police coming in and blah 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 blah. So this is the kind of stuff that we use this for. Now, there are other times. Credibility is a big thing. So in this particular story that we talked about with the zombie enslaved dad, his credibility went out the window.
Right. And that's pretty much the goal, right? I mean, you get the other person, whether it's the plaintiff or the defendant, on the stand, and like you said, I mean, if it all comes back to the testimony being the strongest piece of evidence, then yeah, you essentially just have to make, if two people are telling opposite stories, you have to make the other guy look like the liar. So that's always going to be the goal. But you've really got to have a plan to how to make that happen.
You've got to have a plan. So these things can go wrong. Now, we had a trial recently that maybe you'll remember, and we had the mom in this situation, and Dad They're fighting over custody, and mom's winning, and everybody knows mom's winning. And the opposing counsel decides he's going to try and prove mom's a liar. Okay? Now, there's ways to prove mom's a liar, and there's ways to prove that she's not. And there's things that the court cares about, and there's things the court doesn't care about. Okay? The court would care about somebody stabbing themselves in the stomach 6 times. The court would care about, drinking and driving on the freeway, we hanging the kid out the window, with the booze in the other hand and the top down, and the kid's like, ah, right? The court's going to care about that stuff. Opposing counsel comes in and says, I'm going to prove that mom's a liar. And he goes, I got my big exhibit book here. Why don't you turn to exhibit 987? And we open up to 987, and it is this lady's Section 8 housing application, right? And so he's like, well, tell me about this Section 8 housing application. And she's like, well, okay, I had to apply for Section 8, and so I'm getting reduced subsidy housing. And say, whose name's on line 1? Well, that's me. And who's on line 2? Well, that's my kid. And what's the address? And he's going through this whole thing. And I'm sitting here looking at this guy like, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And quickly realize what he's really trying to get at is that mom's boyfriend lives there with him. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, for those of you who don't know, Section 8 housing is reduced subsidy housing that you can get. That's what they call it here in Las Vegas. They probably call it other things other places. This is Section 8 housing. And if you're applying for Section 8, you have to disclose the income of the person that's living there. If it's low enough, then you can get this reduced housing. So you get this $3,500 a month house for $600, and there you go. Woohoo! Right? But if you're living with your boyfriend, guess what? His income has to be on there too, and you can probably still move into the house, but you're paying about $3,500, right?
Yeah.
So if you had to guess, what is the percentage of Section 8 housing applicants who put their significant others on the application with them?
0.
It's 0. It is 0%. Because if they do, they wouldn't be Section 8 housing applicants, right? Or they could be applicants, but they're not going to get the Section 8. And it's one of those unsung things in the law. You know who cares about Section 8 housing fraud?
Nobody.
The Section 8 housing people. They care about it, right? You know who doesn't care about it? The family court. Because every single person's doing it, and if they had to say the Section 8 housing fraudster doesn't get their kid, then half the people would never have their kid because they're doing Section 8 housing fraud. So the court doesn't care. And this guy's going through the Section 8 housing, and he's giving us a fascinating rendition of what a lease looks like, and where to not find her boyfriend's name on the lease, right? And his whole goal is to prove that mom's a big liar. But as we're like 20, 30 minutes in, listen to this guy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm falling asleep. I gotta do something here. And so I object. I say, objection. What's the relevance of this? And the judge is like, yes, please, Mr. Attorney, please tell us what's the relevance. And he's like, well, I think mom's a liar. And the judge is like, really? Okay, well, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, the time is yours.
Yes.
You've got all the time in the world. Okay?
Well, actually, you've got about 7 minutes left, is what she said.
Yeah, because you've got a time limit.
Because you wasted it all on this.
You can spend your remaining 7 minutes any way you want, but I'm going to tell you right now, this doesn't matter a lick to me, okay? But if you want to keep going, oh, please keep going. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, why don't you keep going? I'd love to know more about this lease. And so the guy's just sitting there. But, as he's sitting there and he's got 700 exhibits there, he doesn't know where any of them are. He doesn't know how to find them. He's only got 7 minutes left.
Oh, and his smoking gun is ice cold.
His smoking gun is the pristine knife on the counter, right? I don't know what that means. You've got this lease application here. The allegation in this particular case was that mom was evicted and she had to move to another state because she had nowhere else to go because she couldn't get another lease in that particular amount of time. Well, what you've proved is she's now back living here with adequate housing. In fact, it's a beautiful house that she's getting for $600 a month. Wow, what a great deal for her. But you haven't shown that she's not a fit mom. You haven't shown that she can't take care of this child. In fact, you've proved just the opposite. And so there's a way to use the exhibits. There's a way to not use the exhibits. And it all starts with having a story. You've got to have a story to tell. It then continues with assisting your client in telling the correct story, and hoping that they use the right emotion in the story that they tell. Because if there is really this abuse, if there's really a dad who's stabbing himself in the stomach 6 times and his intestines are hanging out, that's horrifying. And if you're talking about an episode of Hee Haw, it doesn't have the same impact, right? Well, Dad stabbed himself in the stomach. I guess the intestines were hanging out. My kid was horrified. Anyway, that doesn't help, right? There's a certain emotion that goes with that. And then you have the exhibits that are going to augment or magnify or help the judge understand, oh, this is real. Like, not only this happened, here's where it went down, and here's where Dad fell, and here's where the blood went, and here's how Dad scraped himself into his room. Like, yeah, it all makes sense now because I have this particular exhibit. If all you've got is, a handwritten note, which we see all the time, handwritten note that says, you know what, Dad's jackass. That doesn't carry the day. That's not even evidence. But so many times we see that in these evidence books in front of the judge. So bottom line, when you're going through a litigation, you need to bring whatever evidence you have in front of your attorney. Please realize that the evidence that you have may not seem like anything to your attorney, and it may not even be helpful for your case. So you've got to be willing to admit that what I thought was important really isn't going to be important to the judge. And if you can do that and listen to the advice and present your case in the way that your attorney is trying to help you do that, you're probably going to end up successful. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And with that, if you liked the episode today, like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Legal Smith Unleashed with Shawty.
See you, Shawty.